Hey, ladies and gentlemen, Street Talk and Other Stuff. Mike Maddog Magnotti on this fine Monday morning. Well, fine. We're alive, we're kicking. I'm sorry about the smoke. This is really getting pretty intolerable, but it'll clear up sooner or later. But look, no frivolity today, no jokes, okay? Because we're going to talk about something serious. Now, back when I was a young man, it's when I first found out about the issues of sexual assault and sexual abuse, particularly sexually abusive children. And this became something that was my life's work after that, something that I always continued to be involved in, educated myself on. I did volunteer work with a child sex abuse network for a while, and actually it was main part of my work as a police officer for the city of Wenatchee. And one thing I learned over that period of time was that sex abuse involves issues of power, okay? When children are sexually abused, when people in the workplace, females are sexually harassed, if there's a person using their spiritual authority, their occupational authority, their educational authority, it's an issue of abuse of power, okay? And that's what we're going to talk about today. Now, power that is not checked. People who have power who are not held accountable will sometimes go on to do things that words just cannot describe. And that's what we're going to discuss today. Now, I have a very courageous woman who I'm very proud to call a friend on as a guest today. Her name is Jen Tyler. Now, we're going to discuss this issue of abuse of power in the workplace when it comes down to sexual assault with her today. And I want you to pay attention, okay? And I know you will, particularly about the dynamics of what women go through in these situations and how difficult it is for them to report, the reasons why. Because that's a common question, particularly with domestic abuse. Well, if she's being beaten, why doesn't she just leave or quit or tell somebody? Well, that's kind of a facile question, and there's reasons for that. And we're going to go into that today. But hey, I want you to stick around. This is going to be very educational. It's going to be a very interesting show. So Street Talk and Other Stuff. Mike Maddog Magnotti, you stick around. We'll be right back.
For plumbing, heating, or cooling repair, Patriot will be right there.
Don't wait till your equipment breaks. This Lennox dealer can help.
Keep your home comfort system running smoothly with regular checkups from Patriot Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. Call Patriot today.
Patriot Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling will give your home a hug.
Get up to $1,700 in rebates or special financing.
Tacos Chava has something new. Customers at Tacos Chava say it's the best Mexican food around. Nachos, enchiladas, tortas, ensaladas, and introducing camarones in many styles. You'll love the fresh salsa bar with so much selection. Are you ready for Tacos Chava? Find them at 2 great locations, the Wenatchee Valley Mall and Eniat. Tacos Chava, tan delicioso.
Vamanos junk haulers are pleased to announce they've added moving services to their list of ways to make your life easier. Vamanos Moving Service. No move is too big or small. In fact, Vamanos does it all. Vamanos employees are experienced at moving your home, office, business, and storage. They'll carefully load and unload your belongings. And for the do-it-yourselfers, Vamanos also rents trucks and cargo trailers. Call Vamanos junk haulers and moving service today to schedule your free estimate.
I wish we had something cool for the kids to do this summer. I feel like we've just done it all.
Have you heard about the 100 Days of Summer at the Rack? The kids can take a dive with swim team, challenge themselves with karate and junior workouts. It's games galore playing tennis and pickleball. No need to choose. They can try it all with the Rack Summer Multi-Sport Camps. There's fun for you too. Get fit with group fitness or work on that tan by the pool. The Rack has something for the whole family. Find all the details at WRAC.org and do your 100 Days of Summer at the Rack, where we play every day.
Okay, we are back. Street Talk and Other Stuff. Mike Maddog Magnotti, and I'm very proud to introduce Jen Tyler. Nice to have you.
Thank you for having me.
And actually, this is the first time today that we've met face to face. We've talked a lot on the phone and on Facebook, but I don't believe we've ever
No, I think you were retired before I hired
yeah.
on
Right.
here in 2006.
Yeah, matter of fact, that's the year I retired. Okay, that's the year December 2006.
So
when I
just
left
paths
the PD.
just crossed.
Exactly. So you took up the gauntlet for me.
Absolutely, carrying it proud.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'm glad to have you. And we're going to talk about the issue I talked about in the intro, but just give us a little personal background. I mean, where you're from, you know, that type of thing. Tell us a little bit about yourself so people can get to know you.
Well, I'm from, I kind of tease, I'm from where you can watch your dog run away for 2 weeks. I'm from West Texas. Was born and raised in the Odessa area. My family was in the oil business. In the early 80s, it went bottoms up, and we relocated to Oklahoma, where I graduated and went to school. Started my career in law enforcement out in western Oklahoma at a young age of 19.
Really? Now, Washington State, you can't be a cop till you're 21, I guess.
I started I actually started doing undercover beer purchases for a local police department, and then they hired me as a dispatcher and a jailer at 19.
Oh, okay. Yeah, my kids used to do that too. We'd go out and
lots of fun.
Have them buy beer. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Lots of fun.
So you've wanted to be in police work. I mean, it sounds like it's something you've wanted to do all your life. So.
Well, my mother went to work for a small town sheriff's department when I was 10. And often she couldn't afford childcare, and so it was pretty often that me and my brother would have to go to work with her.
Yeah.
And we would sleep in the holding cell outside dispatch center. And so just the hubbub of the office, you know, inmates being booked in, the sounds of the keys, the change, the officers, the radio. When I was a kid, I had a little cash register, and instead of playing grocery store clerk, I played dispatcher.
That was great. Pay your bail here.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
So
cool.
from the age of 10, oftentimes when a tornado would tear through town and we'd have a blackout, the undersheriff at the time, Sam Bolin, would take me with him to do patrols through towns during the blackouts, you know, 10, 11 years old. So I got a taste for it pretty early on.
All right, so how old were you when you became a commissioned deputy?
I became a commissioned deputy as a reserve in 1999, which that would have made me about 25.
Okay. All right. And the first agency you worked for was?
First agency I ever worked for was Clinton Police Department. I went to work for them as a dispatcher and jailer.
Oklahoma?
Clinton, Oklahoma, out in western Oklahoma. And the chief at the time, Bill Whedon, was a retired highway patrol captain. And I would tease him that when I grew up and was old enough, I was going to be the first female ever on the streets of that county, and he would tell me there'll never be a woman on the streets of Clinton. And I went back to be the first woman in history to be on the payroll for Custer County Sheriff's Office.
All right, so you left there and went to Custer County, Oklahoma, and that's where I want to go, okay? What happened?
Well, when I got the job offer at Custer County, I was actually working for a small county in southern Oklahoma, Love County, and my pay a month in Love County was $13.07, and that was before taxes, and that was without any benefits.
That $13.07 a month.
$13.07 a month, and I just had a baby and didn't have medical benefits through my work, and so I had the opportunity to go to work out in western Oklahoma with better pay, better benefits. It was a dream job, really, Mike.
Sure.
And so I gladly and wonderfully took the job. One, I got to pay a debt that I had, or make a promise that I had made that I'd be a female officer on the streets. And so I went back, tested, applied, and got hired as a full-time sheriff's deputy in Custer County.
Okay, so what you did to do this became your life. Okay, this was extremely important to you.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, women in law enforcement, especially even though this was in 2003, there wasn't a lot of women in law enforcement. There's still not a lot of women in law enforcement in Oklahoma and many other states. And so it was an honor.
Sure.
I had friends from Clinton Police Department that were now deputies at the department. Really, it was a turning point in my life. It meant good money. It meant good benefits for my family. I was on top of the world.
Okay, so what happened?
Well, day one going in to try on uniforms, the sheriff followed me down to the local.
And the sheriff's name was?
Sheriff Mike Burgess.
Mike Burgess, right.
And he'd been a long-time standing sheriff. He'd been a sheriff there since I was there working for Clinton Police Department at 19. I hired on with them in 95. And I want to say that's the same year that he had become sheriff of the county. And so he was a long-time sheriff there.
Right.
And he went with me to try on my uniforms, and I thought that was pretty cool that the sheriff himself was going to go with me and assure that my uniform fitting went properly.
What happened?
Well, when I went in, I put on a pair of pants that I knew I could work in. You're a former law enforcement officer. You got to be able to run, you got to be able to bend and sit down.
Well, theoretically, you have to run, okay? I mean, let's...
You want to be able to run.
Right.
If it happens, you want to be able to run. So you want a pair of, they're polyester.
Sure.
There's nothing about that Class A uniform that's comfortable, but you want to be able to move in it.
Right, so you put on a pair of pants that you were comfortable wearing, okay?
Correct.
Okay.
And when I came out of the dressing room, the sheriff had insinuated that he wanted to approve the look because it mattered to him the way his deputies appeared.
Right, and you're thinking he's doing that being a good sheriff and a good boss and a good supervisor.
Wanting me to look professional, absolutely.
And what happened?
Well, when I come out, he instructed me to do a turnaround. And so, I'm excited that I've got, this Class A uniform, which I didn't have in Love County. And when I turned around, he reached his hands down the back of my pants, shoved them down, and said, "She's got more room, bring her a smaller size."
What went through your mind? What went through your, what was the reaction to that? I mean, I could see just in your face what it was at the time. But here was a job you wanted. You changed your whole life for it. And all of a sudden, this guy who you've given the best of intentions to pulls a stunt like this. What did you experience?
You believe as a woman that you're there because of your abilities.
Right.
That you're there because of the application that you filled out, the information that you put on there, that you're there because you're going to be an asset to the department, an equal asset to the department. And when something like that happens, in that very moment, bring her a smaller size. It's so degrading.
Sure,
and
of course.
every bit of, and you're stuck. I'd already moved my family.
Yeah, exactly.
We'd already moved in a home. We had already, dependent upon the income that was going to be coming in. We're talking southern Oklahoma to western Oklahoma, 300 miles. And, what do? You realize in that moment that it's not what you thought it was.
Sure. By him doing something completely inappropriate, abusing his power over you, the power he knew he had over you.
That occurred 2 more times, and I ended up with a pair of pants.
The same thing. He had you try on 2 more pairs of pants and stuck his hand down your pants 2 more times.
Said she's got more room, bring her a smaller size. And I ended up with a pair of pants that were painted on.
Right. Which, of course, were the pants he wanted you to wear.
Oh, absolutely.
Exactly. Okay. Now, what happened further with this gentleman? Now, we've only got a couple more minutes for the break because I want to get back to kind of the nitty-gritty of this when you were called back to testify against him. But what was your continuing experience with this man who had power and control?
I worked with him.
Excuse me, power and control over you.
I worked for him for about 3 years.
Right.
He'd get angry if I didn't eat lunch with him. He would get angry if I didn't answer the phone when he called. That kind of obsession, I guess, is what you could call it. There was a progression to it. And it became something that the entire department noticed, the entire department was aware of.
And you said that other people in the department began to actually have concern for you, and...
Yeah.
Forgive me if I'm pushing you too hard.
That's okay.
Okay,
that's
okay. I can just see in your face.
I haven't gone back to these moments in a really long time, and if you've interviewed victims of any kind of sexual assault, domestic violence, anything like that, you put them back in that place, and the way you felt right in those moments comes back. It's not something you can forget, and about how it made you feel. They're defining moments, and maybe that's a key for people to remember. One, when they victimize someone, or one, when they tolerate victimization, is it's not something that ever goes away. It's there. You cope and you deal, but it doesn't disappear.
Right.
It doesn't erase that level of.
Well, these feelings of, you know, shame, embarrassment, confusion you're having.
It's not necessarily shame and embarrassment. It's degrading.
Okay.
It's taking something that you get to this moment that you're so proud of your accomplishments. You've told your family, you've told, you know, your community, and you're so proud. You're wearing a police uniform. You're putting on a badge. You're wearing a gun. You're doing something that is the top 5 things kids want to be for Halloween or when they grow up. And you're in this profession, and now you have your boss, the sheriff, who's going to church, who takes you into the community, and he introduces you as this new deputy, and he's had his hands in your pants.
Right.
So, you know, that's always there, and then it progressed from there, which ultimately led to criminal charges.
Okay. All right, now look, we're going to take a break, okay? And when we come back, we're going to talk with Jen about when she was called to come back to testify against this gentleman and what she courageously was willing to do in order to put somebody who needed to be held accountable criminally behind bars. And that's something, like I say, I'm proud to be a friend of yours because of this, but when you go to this extreme to put yourself on the line to protect other people, you don't always feel that sense, oh wow, I'm really proud of myself. It's almost difficult to deal with, isn't it? Okay?
Well, especially when it's your own, you betray.
Right.
You betray that thin blue line. You've crossed those barriers that you're not supposed to do that.
Right. Okay, but we're going to talk about that in a minute, but we got to take a break, so Street Talk and other stuff. Mike Maddog Magnotti with Jen Tyler. You stick around, we'll be right back.
If you're stuck trying to find the perfect beer for you, look no further than Badger Mountain Brewing. We specialize in creating tantalizing craft beers that will soothe any picky taste buds and will satisfy your cravings. Check out everything from our amazing honey blonde that will appease even the most finicky taster, or a delicious frothy stout for dark beer lovers. Experience them all at Badger Mountain Brewing.
Hello, Wenatchee Valley. Christian Chelan here with Bay Equity Home Loans.
Let us make your dream of home ownership a reality. We're here to guide you through the loan process every step of the way. Check out our convenient online application. Bay Equity Home Loans in Wenatchee, your home for loans.
Stop on by or give us a call today.
Just as we went on the air, Steve, NCW Life is live now on Facebook.
Hey, how's about that? We're live, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm Dan Kuntz, your host for the next hour.
Every weekday, starting at 7 o'clock.
Get ready for a bunch of news that's coming your way.
Here's what's happening around North Central Washington. We'll have a rundown of all your local, regional, and statewide news. You can also find more on our website at ncwlife.com. Follow us on Twitter and like us on Facebook. That's Wake Up Wenatchee Valley on NCW Life News.
It's estimated that 1/3 of Americans do not have a financial plan. At D.A. Davidson, their advisors are working to change that because they understand the importance of planning for the future. At D.A. Davidson, they believe in partnering together to build a strategy tailored to your needs. They spend the time and have the knowledge to help keep your financial future on track. Let D.A. Davidson Financial Advisors of Wenatchee put the strength of advice to work for you.
Okay, we're back. Mike Maddog Magnotti talking with Jen Tyler today about men's abuse of power and using it to be able to harass, molest, just sexually exploit their relationships. And that's a key issue that we want to talk about, that it is the power that we have. Now, a lot of people, you know, one of the issues that reason we have laws against, you know, people having sex at certain ages is because the power level is different, okay? But you finally were able to leave Custer County, okay?
I was.
You were able to get away from this man, okay? And then what happened after you were here for a while?
Well, I came to Chelan County as a sheriff's deputy in 2006. Was trucking along just fine, doing well, living life. I had doubled or tripled my income eventually. better benefits.
Sure.
Of course, you know our valley. Who wouldn't love living
Oh,
here?
yeah, great. I love living here.
And
yeah.
so just doing well, living life, and I get a phone call one day from an Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigations officer from Oklahoma who was working on a case in Custer County.
What they want?
Initially, they wanted my help in securing a search warrant for the sheriff's home. And
because they knew you had been in his house and they needed to know the layout.
well, they had asked the other deputies who had worked for him for many years if any of them had ever been in his home, and they were like, no, the only employee we ever know who's ever actually been to his home would be Jennifer Tyler. And so when he called, all he knew at that time was that I had been in the home and that they were looking to get a search warrant, and they needed, you know, if you know law enforcement, you have to have specific details
Sure.
of what you're looking for, where it might be. And so before they hit the house, because he's a sheriff, they had to take certain precautionary things. They wanted to know maybe where he kept firearms, the layout of specific rooms. And
Right.
so I helped him obtain a warrant. I didn't ask a lot of questions. You know, I knew kind of specifically they were looking for some key evidence in which they were able to locate.
Did
through
you know
that search
key
warrant.
evidence of what they were looking for?
Not until after the fact.
Okay.
After the fact, I learned that they were looking for a police flashlight that had been used to anally rape an inmate with.
Right, okay. And they were able to find that flashlight, correct?
They did. They located the flashlight, and it contained her DNA. The flashlight and that piece of evidence then warranted arrest warrants for him
Sure.
and multiple felony accounts.
Now, were you surprised by this, Jen, that that's ended up what they were looking for when you heard that that's what he was being charged with? Was that a surprise to you, or?
You know, I think if that doesn't shock you,
Yeah.
there's something wrong.
Okay.
That shocks anyone's conscience, to know that you're not only someone's capable of that, but that a law enforcement official in the position of sheriff and an inmate has been being raped with a
Sure.
police flashlight. If that doesn't shock your conscience, then you don't have one.
Okay, but you understand what I'm asking.
Was I surprised that he was being investigated for sexual improprieties? No.
Okay, all right, that's what yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so what happened after that? You helped them get that search warrant. They were able to find that piece of evidence, rather damning evidence.
Absolutely.
I might add, yeah.
I had conversations with the deputies that were there who I'd been friends with for years, and you know, it's kind of a relief. He's finally going to be held accountable for his actions. They're finally not going to have to work for him. He's finally going to get what's coming to him.
Sure, okay. And what did they ask you to do further, though?
Well, I got a call later on that key piece of evidence had come up missing, that they had made a huge mistake and had booked that into his own evidence vault. And somehow it was missing as the key piece of evidence. And so without it, all they had was testimony from the victims.
Okay.
They then recalled me and wanted to discuss further about how I knew some of the things that I knew, and some of the deputies had disclosed a couple of different sexual assaults that they had witnessed, and ultimately I was asked to cooperate in the trial as a victim.
And you agreed to do that?
Reluctantly and cautiously, I did.
Yes, but that was, come on, that was the right thing to do. I don't care if the guy was a cop, okay? Come on. Look.
You know, my convictions came from some of the women that were victims, were women that I had put there. They
Sure.
were my cases. They were leftover drug cases that I had worked. And, you know, part of me felt if I could have stood up and said something, Mike, if I, you know, who do you go to tell on the sheriff?
Sure,
first
exactly,
off?
right.
But a part of me said if I could have had the courage to stand up and do something about it when it was me, could it have prevented it from being
And
then?
this is why, one of the reasons why these things don't get disclosed, because suddenly you're feeling guilty.
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah, but how much, you had no guilt at all. And this is very common for people who are victims of this type of assault or domestic assault, is suddenly they feel some sense of responsibility, which prohibits them from talking about it, okay?
Oh, absolutely.
But you bore no guilt, none at all.
Well, even though it's not there, it's there.
Right.
It's
okay.
there.
I hear you.
And so, you know, I went down, agreed to testify. The prosecutor said, Jen, without your testimony, we won't get a conviction because it's his word against inmates.
Sure.
We need you. And the deputies that were still there encouraged and said, you know, we need you. And of course my hesitation was, you know, the negativity that I would, you know, face with my current department and what that might mean for my current status.
Yeah.
And so, but you're right, I did the right thing. I testified in 2 trials. He was ultimately convicted and sentenced to a total of 96 years in prison, but 79 of that to do.
Right. As well he should have been.
Absolutely.
Okay. Now look, I don't mean to cut you off. We could go a lot more, but we got to take a break, and we're going to back talk for a few more minutes. But when we do come back, very briefly, I want you to talk about again the difficulties of disclosing these things. Okay. Again, why, if this happened, didn't she say something? Or why, if a woman's being abused by her husband, doesn't she speak out? There's dynamics to that that prevent that. I mean, we talked about that. The feeling of responsibility you felt for that, which was unjustified, is part of the reason why people don't talk.
Well,
but again, let's hold that. Let's take our break. We'll come back. We'll have a couple minutes when we come back. Okay? Thank you for being patient with me. Okay, but street talk and other stuff.
It's your show, Mike.
That's what I tell myself. Street talk and other stuff. Mike, Maddog Magnotti, you stick around. We'll be right back.
I'm Grant Olson, and you're watching the NCW Life channel.
I'm Eric Grandstrom with NCW Life Sports.
I'm NCW Life News Director Steve Hare.
Catch us on Local Tel Channel 12.
You can watch us on Charter Channel 19 or stream us live on ncwlife.com.
Follow us on Twitter and like us on Facebook.
Where we cover the local high schools, the Wenatchee Wild, and the pro teams out of Seattle.
On Saturday, we have a 90% chance of rain.
Catch it all right here on the NCW Life channel.
If you are looking for dependable car service and repair, visit the good guys at Quick Lube and Tune. They've been keeping cars and trucks in the Wenatchee Valley running smooth for 35 years. Quick Lube and Tune is your hometown shop for a 10-minute oil change, complete tune-ups, alignments, brakes, mufflers, air conditioning service, and more. Get more life out of your vehicle by bringing it to the local guys you can trust at Quick Lube and Tune on South Wenatchee Avenue.
Okay, street talk and other stuff. Mike, Maddog Magnotti. We're talking with Jen Tyler, who was subjected to sexual harassment that she later, in the workplace, at the hands of a man who had very much power and control over her. But later came back to hold this person accountable, and now he's where he belongs. He's still alive, still in prison?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
But we want to talk about what is it, the dynamic of causes women who are in these situations, not just being sexually harassed at work, but domestic violence issues that keep, I mean, people say, why don't they just speak out? Well, there's reasons for that, okay? Can you help us understand that a little better?
There's an immense fear.
Right.
1, fear that nobody will believe you. 2, fear that you'll be rejected.
Mm-hmm.
You're made to be the bad guy for saying something. You're
Exactly.
made to be the convicted. You know, he's in prison, but the fallout that I faced after so-called doing the right thing, I wasn't treated as a hero. I wasn't treated as brave or treated as courageous for coming forward and cooperating in this. All of a sudden now, all the other men you work with now fear, you know, what if she thinks I say something? What if she claims I do something? It's almost like you have a disease that's carried with you forever.
And that's not your intent at all. Your main desire is to what? You want to be a good cop. I mean, you said that to me numerous times.
I cooperated with a criminal investigation against a sexual predator, and I did the right thing, and I testified, and I put him in prison where he belongs. The same, Mike, as you would do if you were working a case and you're dealing with the victim of domestic violence. You do your job. The only thing is the tables were turned in this, and it wasn't my investigation, but it was my life.
Right. And it was a man in power because of the position he had. The fact that he was a sheriff was somebody who was able to manipulate that.
It went on for years.
Yeah, exactly.
Years. He got away with it for years. And, you know, eventually it caught up with him when it escalated. He got away with small things, and clearly they escalated to greater things when you're involving, you know, oral sodomy, you know, rape by instrumentation. You know, it starts small, and the more he got away with, the more empowered he felt to do those things and get away with it.
And you helped end it by holding him accountable.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Okay,
Thank
Jen,
you.
thank you very much.
Thank you,
God
Mike,
bless
for
you
having
big
me.
time.
Thank you for having me.
Street Talk and Other Stuff. Mike Maddog Magnotti, appreciate you being here. We will see you next week. Bye-bye.